Feel your breath, gentle and slow, in and out. With each inhale, draw in a sense of calm. With each exhale, release any tension from your arms, your neck, your shoulders. Let your toes relax, your legs sink deeper into softness. The air around you is cool, comforting, like early dusk over a stone village. Imagine a faint evening breeze, carrying the smell of damp grass and smoke from distant hearths. You hear in your mind the distant murmur of church bells, though not yet the grand new clock, just soft echoes fading in and out. You are safe. You are quiet. You are ready to drift a little deeper. Now softly, allow your consciousness to carry you to Salisbury. The stone streets are hushed. Torches cast gentle glows on high walls. The moon moves slowly over the cathedral spire. In the hush of twilight, the master clockmaker, Aldwin, steps from his workshop. He carries with him a slender lantern, its light dancing on his tools, a small hammer, fine chisels, polished brass gears, and tiny weights. He breathes in the cool night air, listens to the world around him, the rustle of leaves, the call of an owl, the creak of timber. Aldwin's workshop lies just across the way from Salisbury Cathedral. You can almost feel the warm glow of candles inside the nave, where monks chant softly in twilight hours. Soon, the cathedral will ring with a new sound, not merely bells, but a mechanical pulse marking time itself. This clock is one of the earliest public mechanical clocks in England, a marvel that will ring on each hour. As you walk with Aldwin through the quiet square, footsteps muffled by soft earth and paving stones, imagine the silver gleam of moonlight on stained glass, the slivers of coloured light cast inside the cathedral. Inside, the builders hung the clock's mechanism behind the tower walls, so the bell would toll for all. Aldwin pauses under an arch, breathes in the stillness, then gently lifts the lantern higher. The glow reveals intricate masonry, carved gargoyles, and the petals of sculpted rosettes. Each carved stone seems to breathe in the moonlight, holding memory. Inside the hidden chamber, Aldwin works. He fits a wheel to a spindle, balances a gear, aligns a hammer to strike the bell. The mechanism is simple yet profound. Weights descend slowly, pulling levers, turning wheels, each tooth interacting precisely. Medieval clockmakers sometimes used verge and foliot escapements, delicate, rhythmic, exacting. Feel the hum of latent power as gear meets gear, as motion wants to awaken. Aldwin's fingers brush metal lightly. You sense the coolness of brass, the soft edges of curved surfaces. The lantern's glow paints gentle shadows on stone walls, dust motes drifting in the light. He positions the balance wheel, and the inner pendulum, though early clocks had limited pendulum work, begins a gentle sway. The mechanism breathes. The first hour must be measured. Aldwin steadies his breath, listens. Now he lifts a hammer to the bell's rim. His hand lingers, the world silent. He releases, clang. The sound rolls. He lets it fade. He breathes. Then again, clang. The second hour. Each toll is clear, exact. Your heart eases into the pattern of the sound. Clang, silence, clang. With each strike, the cathedral walls vibrate softly. The air warms slightly from unseen resonance. The sound is not harsh. Rather, it is gentle, resonant, reverberating, like a heartbeat for the whole town. As midnight nears, Aldwin rests for a moment. He leans on his bench, lantern in hand, and gazes through a narrow window in the tower wall. Below, rooftops glimmer silver beneath moonlight. Chimneys curl gentle smoke. The wind is still. Sometimes a faint owl calls. Sometimes a breeze makes a loose tile whisper. He recalls how earlier in medieval times, the ringing of church bells marked canonical hours, times for prayer, for rest, for rising, a living rhythm for daily life. But now, with this new clock, time itself becomes audible, tangible, shared. Anyone who walks by the cathedral will hear the hours pass. Imagine yourself there, leaning lightly against cold stone. You listen for the next toll. Your breath and your heartbeat slow in harmony with the clock's rhythm. The world feels vast and soft, threaded by time's gentle measure. Aldwin picks up a soft cloth and polishes a gear wheel. He hums a quiet tune, a simple melody he learned in childhood. The notes drift among the walls, the clock's gears gleam, the lantern flame flickers, the night deepens. Now the final hour toll approaches. Clang, clang, clang. You feel yourself drifting. Each sound is a step down into deeper rest. Each echo pulls you fuller into calm. With the last toll, Aldwin closes the panel, places the tools gently aside, and extinguishes his lantern. He steps back, into shadow, and listens. The clock continues its silent dance within the stone. The city is still, the moon watches, and you remain there, resting, breathing, drifting. Time's heartbeat echoes faintly in your mind. You are weightless in slumber's hush. Sleep now softly in the quiet company of stone and mechanisms, of bells and moonlit nights. Let your dreams flow as gently as a gear turning. Soft, whispering tone continuing seamlessly. Settle yourself again. Breathe slowly, deeply, gently. Imagine the hush of night over Salisbury, the cool stones breathing with the earth. With every inhale, feel the air in your chest soften you. With every exhale, imagine your worries dissolving into candle smoke, fading away. Our story continues as Aldwin, the clockmaker, rests by the tower's stairwell. The spiral staircase coils upward like the inside of a shell. He runs his hand along the smooth stone wall, cool and slightly damp. His lantern is extinguished, but he carries within him the glow of satisfaction. The machine he has made is alive. Down below, the town sleeps. Cats curl by hearth fires. Bakers doze, knowing their dawn work approaches. Villagers, wrapped in rough wool, drift in timber homes. And above it all, unseen but present, the clock keeps its steady breath, marking the quiet hours. In medieval times, many believed the night was not silent but full of presence. Spirits of ancestors lingered near, watching over the sleeping. The toll of a bell, monks whispered, was more than sound. It kept the unseen at bay, reminded restless souls of order and peace. As Aldwin sits in the hush of the tower, he remembers stories of parishioners long gone, whose names are carved on wooden pews. The bell, each hour, seems to honor them, a note for the living and the departed both. You too feel that comfort, that each sound you imagine is not only time, but a lullaby across centuries. A hush reminding you, you are safe, you are steady, you are held in a rhythm older than yourself. Through the narrow tower window, a breeze drifts in. It carries the scent of rain-washed earth and faint incense from the cathedral's nave. The flame of Aldwin's thoughts flickers gently in this quiet. The air is cool against his face, soft as velvet. Imagine the vast hall of the cathedral, the pillars like stone trees, the arches rising as though reaching for the stars. At night, when candles are few, the shadows gather in high corners and the building seems to breathe. Listen in your mind, faint wood creaks, echoes of past chants, the distant wingbeat of a bat, all gentle, all part of a living stillness. You rest with this image, as if lying in the center of the nave, wrapped in soft wool, hearing the quiet harmony of stone and silence. The first hours after midnight arrive with gentle regularity. Clang, clang, clang. The bell keeps time for monks, for sleepers, for dreamers. Each sound settles you further. 1, 2, 3. The bells roll through the night. Imagine them as waves upon a shore, rising, falling, fading, each toll another ripple that carries you deeper into peace. By the 4th hour, the sky beyond the tower window begins to pale faintly, a hint of dawn. But you are still in the night, safe in its embrace, rocking gently on its rhythm. Aldwin recalls the day he first began his craft. As a boy, he apprenticed with an older master, polishing brass, carrying wood, stoking fires for casting. He remembers how the master once said, "Time is not only kept, It is cared for like a child. And so, Aldwin has cared for the gears, the rods, the hammer, ensuring each piece moves in harmony. The memory comforts him now, sitting in the tower. He feels like a guardian of something greater than himself. You too feel that care, that the slow pulse of hours is not just machinery, but tenderness, a hand upon your shoulder, guiding you into rest. The air grows cooler. A gentle mist begins to rise beyond the fields. Sheep stir faintly in their pens. In the kitchens of a few homes, a faint clatter of early bread-making begins, but so faint, so distant, it seems like part of a dream. The clock strikes again. Its toll resonates through stone, through air, through the sleeping world. This sound is your lullaby now. Imagine each strike echoing through the earth, spreading like ripples in still water, carrying calm to every corner. You are not hurried, not burdened. You are only listening. Aldwin closes his eyes for a moment, leaning back against the cool stone. He hears his own heartbeat merge with the rhythm of the clock. Slowly, gently, he drifts into half-dream, even as he sits by the tower. And you too may drift, for in this story you are both listener and dreamer. You walk the streets of Salisbury, you sit in the tower, you breathe with the cathedral, and you sleep with the world around you. The final hours before dawn are quiet, tender, slow. Every toll is a breath, every silence a deeper rest. Sleep now under the great clock's care. Sleep while time itself cradles you. Sleep, knowing that when you wake, the rhythm will still be there, gentle and sure. Slow breath in and let it go like a feather settling onto warm parchment. Feel your shoulders soften, your jaw unclench, and your hands rest heavy and comfortable. The room is safe, the edges of the day already blurring. If any thoughts wander in, let them drift past like small motes of dust moving through candlelight. You don't need to do anything now. You can simply listen. Our story today begins in a hush of stone and timber, where the night folds around a small monastery scriptorium. Outside, the air is cool, a gentle breeze slipping through cloister arches, carrying the faintest scent of damp earth and time. Inside, the walls hold the day's warmth, and a single hearth purrs with soft embers. There is the patient tick of time measured not by clocks, but by breath, by the slow swing of shadow, by the rise and fall of a flame. And at a long oaken table, a scribe prepares his midnight ink. He is unhurried. You can be unhurried too. A clean sheet of parchment lies before him, smooth calfskin, treated and scraped to a silk, quiet finish. He runs his palm across it, not to press, only to greet it. Near his right hand rests a small horn cup, dark as tea. This is oak gall ink, iron gall, made from tiny galls found on oak leaves, mixed with iron salts and a drop of gum arabic to bind it. The scribe tilts the cup and watches the surface shine like a quiet lake at night, like a calm mind. The quill is goosefeather, cured and cut, the nib open to a fine slit. He trims it with a sharp penknife, sesque, until it answers the lightest pressure. The smallest motions make the cleanest lines. He draws in a slow breath, and under his breath he hums. Many scribes did this, soft, even syllables that keep the hand steady and the spacing true. You can hear it now, a hum that smooths the rhythm of writing, the way your breath smooths the rhythm of rest. He dips the quill. The first touch to parchment leaves a thin, glossy trail, and then the black settles, velvet and sure. You can almost hear the sound of it, the faintest scratch, like a moth's wing along linen. Scratch, lift, scratch, lift. The letters rise in tidy rows, each one a little cathedral. Arches and spires, measured curves, generous ascenders reaching up toward the rafters of thought. There is a window near the table, leaded panes throwing moon-checkered squares across the floor. Outside, a watchman makes his round along the wall walk. You hear him sometimes, boot leather on stone, a cough turned to the side, a lantern crooking a halo of honeyed light. Then silence again. Even the silence has a pattern, a shape you can lean into. The world is breathing with you. The scribe writes the title in a red made from ground cinnabar, the pigment stirred with egg white until it gleams like a seam of sunrise. He taps the page lightly, 1, 2, 3, so the red settles, then returns to the oak-gall ink. Medieval inks like his, the steady black of 1,000 surviving manuscripts, were not merely color. They bit softly into the parchment with the iron, bonding word to page like a promise. What you write with patience can last. What you let go of softly can fade. Tonight, we practice both. He pauses to straighten the page weight, a smooth riverstone warmed by the hearth earlier in the evening. It remembers the heat and returns it in a gentle wave, just enough to relax the parchment's curl. You can feel that warmth by proxy, rolling out across your chest, loosening the small ties of the day. Let the belly soften. Let the eyes grow heavy. If you need to shift in your bed, do it like a scribe adjusting the page, small, unhurried, thoughtful, then be still again. From a shelf above, the scribe lifts a small vial of lapis lazuli pigment, the rare ultramarine, precious as any treasure. He will save it for an initial letter tomorrow, when dawn gives the hand more vigor. For now, it waits, a tiny sky in glass. He sets it down with care. The care is part of the craft. The care is part of your rest. He returns to the text. Line by line, the page fills with meaning. Between lines, he leaves a breath of space, white fields for the eye to stroll through. Imagine your own thoughts strolling there, unhurried, not crowding, not pressing, just wandering through a garden of margin. In these margins, he will later add small notes, glosses, corrections, little stars, guiding future readers with kindness. You are guided now, too, by voice, by rhythm, by the predictable comfort of the next gentle sentence. A faint draught visits the room and trembles the candle flame. The light flickers, and shadows bow and rise like monks at prayer. You do not need to chase the light into stillness. It finds its own way back. It always does. The scribe's hum becomes a whisper of syllables, shaping a pattern, even gentle, steady, slow. You can adopt it if you like, either as a loop in the back of the mind or a feeling in the chest, the way the sea repeats itself at the shore. Even, gentle, steady, slow. With every repeat, the body understands more fully what to do. He writes a capital with a measured stroke. The quill glides thin and thick, following the weight of his hand, and you can feel how unforced it is. When he lifts the quill, a tiny bead of ink pearls at the tip, then settles back into the nib. He wipes it on a soft cloth, not rushing, and you notice how rest is built just like this page. Stroke by careful stroke, pause by mindful pause. Outside, the breeze slips along the garden. Night herbs keep their counsel, rosemary interlacing with mint, lavender yielding up its clean, powdery calm. The scents drift in, pairing with the parchment's faint sweetness, the pear wood of the pen rack, the ember breath from the hearth. You can choose any one of these, as if selecting a single bookmark for your mind. Rosemary for clarity, lavender for softness, embers for deep warmth. Hold the one you like for a moment, then let it dissolve into the general comfort. The scribe turns the page with 2 fingers, holding his breath for the tiniest instant so the paper makes no sound beyond a soft leafing, which is somehow the most restful sound in the world. You may imagine a stack of your own thoughts turning the same way, each sheet placed gently onto a finished pile, requiring nothing further from you. Done for today, done for tonight, placed away. He reaches for a small sand shaker, not sand exactly, but fine powder, to dust the fresh lines. The powder drinks the shine from the ink, and leaves a satin surface. He tips the page and the extra dust slides off in a thin, glittering stream, like stars falling in miniature. See how even completion can be quiet. There's no crash, no applause, just a whisper of powder traveling to the tray. Somewhere in the distance, a nightbird calls. 2 notes, low and even, then folds its head under wing. The bell in the monastery tower will not ring until Lord's near dawn. For now there is only this page and the next gentle line. The scribe's hand does not tire. He knows when to pause, when to sip water from a wooden cup, when to let the ink rest. Your body knows this too. It knows how to slow, it knows how to become very still, like a candle after a brief wind. He writes the date in Roman numerals at the bottom margin, a breadcrumb for some future reader who will trace this very night, centuries hence, and feel its quiet. He seals a small note with a dab of beeswax, warm and honey-scented. Bees visited clover fields to offer this wax. Monks set wicks and poured candles from it. Now the flame they made shelters your rest. The world's labours tuck you in. He selects a narrow brush and wets it, not with water, but with a whisper of wine, as was sometimes done to temper the pigment for a rubric. The brush tastes the red again, and he draws a thin line beneath a heading, the rule true and calm. So many parts, so many skills, and yet the effect is simple. Order, clarity, peace. Your own thoughts enjoy this same ruling, this same soft line of enough for now. When he pauses, he looks toward the window. The moon has shifted a finger's breadth. Time moves, but here it moves in kindness. If there are any last threads of the day caught along your shoulders, he gathers them like stray hairs and tucks them behind your ear. That is how his glance feels, tidy, affectionate, unhurried. He returns to the words, scratch, lift, scratch, lift. Each stroke nudges you further into the gentle dark between thoughts. At length he closes the horn ink pot, snug, but not tight. The quill lies across the pen rest, a small boat pulled softly onto shore. He folds a linen cloth over the lapis and the cinnabar, and the pigments become sleeping creatures, quiet in their nest. The page he's finished dries on the stand, proud but humble, a field newly planted with black seeds that will grow into meaning whenever someone's eyes come to water them. Not tonight. Tonight is for growing rest, not reading. The hearth settles. One ember winks, then glows, then sighs back to a warm orange hush. The breeze grows still outside, or perhaps you simply notice it less because your body has matched it. The scribe carries the page to a chest and lays it flat. He bows his head, not theatrically, not piously, only as a natural motion of gratitude for the ink, for the parchment, for the steadiness of his hand tonight, and for the gift of stopping. He pinches the candle wick between dampened fingers. The flame yields like a small animal agreeing to sleep. In the pearl of darkness that follows, the room holds itself. So do you, breath in, breath out, and the last sound of the scriptorium is the soft click of wood as the door eases shut. And now, in the gentle absence of ink and flame, you can lie down in your own quiet cell of comfort. The bed receives you as parchment receives ink, not arguing, not questioning, just welcoming the shape of what you are tonight, soft, readable, simple. The day's story can wait in the margins, for now there is only the silence that scribes used to protect with their careful rules and measured hands. A silence deep and kind, a silence that writes itself across your forehead and your chest with a single soothing line, even gentle, steady, slow. And as the quiet gathers around you like a woolen cloak, the scribe's breath becomes your metronome again, slow and unhurried. Our story resumes in the softened dark, where the scriptorium's shapes are barely there. Benches, shelves, the sleeping glint of a brass lamp. A small window breathes the faintest thread of night air. Somewhere in the garden, a leaf loosens from its stem and decides to rest. Everything knows how to stop. The scribe lights a new taper from a coal coaxed awake with a whisper of bellows. He shields the newborn flame with his palm, the way a shepherd once would shelter a lamb against a sudden chill. The room brightens only a little. That is all it needs. He returns to his table and sets out a fresh sheet of parchment, smoothing it beneath a flat board. You can almost feel the grain, firmer than paper, but pliant, like well-behaved cloth. Before writing, he takes up a thin, silvery stick, a plummet of lead-tin alloy. With it, he rules faint lines across the page so the text will walk straight, as many medieval scribes did. Guidelines that barely show, a quiet scaffolding. He makes little prickings along the edge with an awl to measure margins, a neat constellation of pinpoints that future binders will respect. Everything has a place. Your body likes that. It loosens because order will do the holding. He dusts the sheet with a gentle powder, pounce, ground from cuttlefish bone or chalk, so the surface will take ink evenly. A soft cloud rises, then settles, and you imagine the way your own thoughts settle when you don't chase them. He taps the edges, tap, tap, and the page lies calm as a pond at dawn. Tonight's quill is new. Swan feather, slightly larger, cut to a square nib fit for textura, the tidy vertical script of late medieval books. He tests the angle on a scrap, thin hairline, thick downstroke, the tiniest serif like a breath at the end of a sentence. A good tool, he thinks, in words you can almost hear, is one that disappears into the work. Rest is like that too, most present when unnoticed. He draws the first letter of a psalm, not to perform holiness, but because he loves the shape of devotion written out carefully. The black line travels with the patience of a bee across a meadow. It doesn't need to hurry to find its flower. A soft chant emerges at the edge of his lips. Steady notes, a mode that feels like stepping down a cool stair, and finding the last step is moss. Medieval brothers learned to keep time with their voices. The scribe keeps time with his. Between sections, he pauses to sharpen. The penknife's kiss on the quill is quick, precise, never harsh. Sk, sk, and then the nib is right again. He lifts a little block of beeswax and rubs it along the quill's body so his fingers will not slip. The wax is faintly sweet, summer stored for winter. In that small fragrance, you find your own summer again. The slow field, the sun-warmed wall, the nap you once took without apology. Your muscles remember that permission. He reaches for a small square of gold leaf, thinner than breath. With a squirrel hair brush, he paints a cushion of bole, a reddish clay where an initial will sit. He breathes lightly across it, then lays the gold down. It clings as if the page itself has decided to shine. He presses with an agate burnisher, slow circular strokes, until the gold gleams like a moon discovered behind cloud. Medieval readers love this little miracle, light made solid. You like it too. Something in you gleams quietly where worry used to be. He turns now to ultramarine, the lapis lazuli ground finer than flour, cut with a dash of binder. It was dear enough to account for in the abbey's ledgers, and precious enough to be saved for Mary's robe or an illuminated sky. The scribe wets his brush, touches colour to gold's edge, and the blue pools like evening where day surrenders. It is not showy, it is certain. Your breath follows it, out and in, letting the chest widen, then soften, like a wave that knows the shore by heart. Outside, the clouds release a hush of rain so fine it is almost a thought. Roof tiles answer with tiny clicks. The herb beds drink. The watchman's lantern traces a brief path and disappears again, friendly and forgetful. Far off, a fox considers a path and chooses the easier one. Ease keeps finding you in small ways. The scribe lays aside his brush and returns to the quill. The words gather like starlings into meaningful patterns, no bird rushing ahead, each keeping its companionable distance. He leaves rubrics in red to guide a future reader where to pause, where to begin, where to sing, ancient caretaking, travelling forward. You feel guided the same way. No demands, only gentle arrows that say, this way if you wish. Midway through the page, he stops to stretch. He interlaces his fingers and turns the palms outward until the wrists sigh. You try it in miniature where you lie. No strain, just a suggestion. And some small place behind the shoulder blades loosens its grip. He rolls each shoulder once. One of them creaks like an old gate and then, grateful, closes softly. He sips a little water. He's careful not to spill near the work. The page is thirsty. You taste a cool sip in your imagination and feel how the body brightens at kindness. He sets the cup down and smiles at a memory. How, when he was a novice, he dotted an I with too much ink and it spread like an eager puddle. His teacher had said, "There, the letter is wearing a hat." Even mistakes can be gentle in the right company. If any thought about your day tries to criticize, you can give it a tiny hat and watch it bow out of the room. Time slides, but you do not measure it with worry. The scribe's world is quire and folio, and the pleasure of spacing words so they breathe. He stitches a little bookmark tag from linen thread and leaves it near the top margin, where later the binder will secure it between gatherings. Books are bodies that remember being made. Your body remembers being cared for. It responds by sinking comfortably another finger's depth into the mattress. He inspects the page. Where a line ended a hair early, he draws a tender flourish to meet the margin, a filigree like ivy. Ivy knows how to hold stone without breaking it. You know how to hold the day without carrying it through the night. The filigree says, complete enough. He dusts the fresh lines with pounce again and tilts the sheet to listen to the powder, hush. When he lifts the page to the drying rack, a small draft moves beneath it, and the page rises, then settles, breathing like everything else. On the work table, the tools rest like a small family. Quill asleep, ink untroubled, pigments wrapped, knife sheathed. He steps to the door that opens onto the cloister and lets it stand ajar. Cool air walks in on bare feet, and with it, the quiet stone smell of old walls after rain. A drip from the roof finds the lip of a barrel. Plink, plink. You might count those drops if you like, not to arrive anywhere, but to enjoy the little bridge each number builds from now to now. On the far side of the court, a brother extinguishes lamps one by one. Each goes out like a sigh. The scribe listens to his own footsteps as he crosses to fetch a small bundle of parchment scraps for tomorrow's initials. He carries them back, and each step happens once, never to be reconsidered, never to require explanation. The floor does not judge the foot that walks upon it. The bed does not judge the person who sleeps within it. The page does not judge the hand that writes. He returns to his bench for one last small task. On a narrow slip, he notes the number of leaves finished this week and the supplies to be ordered at market. Gum, Arabic, a little more verdigris, more linen rags for cleaning. Verdigris likes to tarnish if it is not protected. Tomorrow he will glaze it so the green stays friendly. He smiles at the thought and tucks the slip beneath a smooth pressing board to keep it flat. When he finally closes the workbook, the clasps answer with a soft click, a sound that has satisfied craftsmen for centuries, the sound of work complete and safe. He strokes the leather spine once. You can feel that stroke as a hand across your hair, easy, approving, finished for now. He snuffs the taper with a bell-shaped extinguisher, and the dark becomes velvet again, not heavy, not empty, supportive. The room is still a room within the larger room of night. The monastery is a little ship, and every cell is a berth, and sleep is the tide that lifts all hulls without asking their names. The scribe walks the corridor by memory. He knows where the stone rises, where it dips, where the window will open onto the moon if the cloud allows. He knows how to keep his shoulder close to the left wall to pass the cool column without brushing it. He knows his own door by the way the latch greets his hand. You know your pillow by the way it lifts to meet you now. Inside his small chamber, there is a pallet, a stool, a cross in quiet wood. There is a little bundle of rosemary pinned to the sill, a reminder that the garden is kind even at night. He loosens his belt, folds his robe, and lies down. He turns onto his side as though curving around a word he loves. Breath becomes the only chant, in, out, with no need to count now. He thinks of tomorrow's page, not to plan, just to feel the promise of it. A clean field waiting for patient seeds, a morning bright enough to ask for bluer hand, steady enough to make the minims march, and the capitals blossom. Then even that thought sets itself on a shelf and closes its own lid. Sleep finds him the way gold finds burnished bowl, completely, softly, without effort. And as the scribe drifts, the scriptorium rests inside you like a room you can always return to. Shelves tidy, quills trimmed, pigments sleeping, the page breathing where it dries. If concern tries the handle, it finds the latch already lifted to peace. You feel your feet relax. 10 small scribes putting down their pens. Your calves smooth, your knees float, your thighs settle like stacked choirs aligned. The hips drop into place, the belly ripples once and then grows quiet as a lake untroubled by wind. The ribs widen, then narrow, the heart writes its steady script. The shoulders melt, the arms become warm ribbons, the fingers uncurl, inkless and content. The face smooths itself, brow, eyes, cheeks, jaw, each line erased by an invisible hand that loves you. Where the tongue meets the palate, a small doorway opens and cool air passes through. Now the whole of you is laid out like a finished page. Margins generous, lines even, letters black and clear. Rubric guiding the eye to where the story pauses. Here, the book closes without ending, as good books often do, promising more when morning comes. Until then, you sleep in the keeping of old crafts and quiet rooms of bees, who made the wax of oaks, who raised their little galls of mountains, who surrendered blue to powder of hands, who practiced until steadiness became love. All that patience hums around you like a chorus you don't need to join to be carried by. Rest in that chorus. Rest in the hush of parchment and the warmth of embers. Rest in the words that guided the scribe's hand, and now guide your breath. Even, gentle, steady, slow. And when morning wants you, it will turn the page with a sound like FWP. Soft, inevitable, kind. But not yet. Not now. Now, sleep.